Hello and welcome to the channel. Now today I wanted to speak to you about how I became the leading expert on this Swiss watch brand by building what may be the most complete catalog record ever assembled for it from scattered public and archival sources. This is a record that now includes over 600 rare watch objects, and this could easily be worth more than $1 million. And the deeper I went, the clearer it became. This was not a marginal name in watch history, but a brand of genuine significance. It also revealed the extraordinary extent to which one family had been involved in the art of watchmaking and in shaping the destiny of the brand itself. And this is the Montandon family of watchmakers. So welcome to this video. I hope you enjoy. So what is the scale of the record? Over the years, I have identified and studied these watches and the documentary record around them across libraries, auction records, archival traces, trade literature, dealer material, other collector references, institutional holdings, and every other public source that I could reach. Now, this was not from a single private archive. This was not from one collector and not from one convenience store. This was built by piece from a historical record that has been scattered across time, geography, and the trade itself. And this is what makes it so important. This research took 8 years to compile. So why the record matters? In antique watch research, catalogs and related documents are not just collectible paper. They are, in fact, evidence. They show what a brand made, how it presented itself, what it sold, how its designs evolved, how its language changed, and where later generations often got the story wrong. The watches are the objects. The documents are the map. And in this case, the map had to be built from scratch. So how I got here. Now, this is really how I got here. I did not become an expert because someone handed me a complete reference and told me the answers. I became an expert on this watch brand because the historical record was fragmented, inconsistent, and in many cases simply wrong. Therefore, it was incumbent upon me to do the footwork to establish this information. So there was no serious, complete framework for this brand. There was no coherent body of knowledge, no single place where its history had been properly assembled and tested against the evidence. So I started doing the work for myself. This was source by source, reference by reference, date by date, image by image, etc., until I compiled and analyzed the information which was available. From research to reconstruction, and this was over time, what began as focused research became something much larger. This was the reconstruction of a brand history that had been dispersed across hundreds of surviving traces of documentary evidence. That is the part most people never see. The challenge was not finding one rare object. The challenge was building a coherent historical picture from hundreds of scattered documents and surviving watches across decades, markets, and formats. Some sources were duplicated, some were incomplete, some were misdated, most were misunderstood, and some had been seen before but never properly interpreted. This is where my expertise began. So why my approach is different? What makes me the sole expert on this brand? Because access to sources is only part of the equation, interpretation is the other half. Most people look at a watch or a catalog page. Very few can place it within a broader chronology, identify what changed, recognize what matters, and connect it to the historical trade behind it. In my case, that work goes even further. I'm not just comparing watches and documents. I also use genealogical data on the lives of the watchmakers themselves, their families, careers, business addresses, street locations, and relationships within the entire trade. That helps me to identify the strongest candidate among period makers and test those conclusions against both the principal record, the printed data that we have, and the surviving watches. It is part of the method I call genealogy. This is the fusion of genealogy and horology to reconstruct the watch history through both objects and lives. The sources are public, the methods are not. So this is my definition of genealogy. So what did my research reveal? So when using the science of genealogy, you apply this method across hundreds of watch objects and documents, a very different picture starts to emerge. You stop seeing isolated examples. You start seeing systems. You begin to track a design evolution over time, and you see model continuity, signing patterns of the watches themselves, retailer relationships, case and dial trends, market positioning, shifts in identity, and the deeper structure of how the brand actually developed. So at a certain point, the watches stop looking like separate objects and start reading like a language itself. And that is when research becomes truly powerful, that you see this system within the system. So what surprised me the most was because the biggest surprise in the work like this is not just what you find, it is how much accepted knowledge starts to fall apart when examined very closely. You compare enough original material. This is the material evidence, the watches themselves, and you start to see these patterns emerge. Now, the things that collectors repeat confidently often turn out to be incomplete or incorrect. Timelines do begin to move. Supposed anomalies start to make sense, and watches that once looked mysterious suddenly fit into a broader historical logic. So the more original material I studied, the less I trusted the so-called inherited watch lore. So many of these objects are poorly comprehended by watch experts or collectors, and it is necessary to take this in the larger context, which until now had never been available. So also the bigger lesson here, and that may be one of the most important lessons here actually, history, it's often not lost because nobody preserved it. History is lost because it survives in fragments, and nobody assembles those fragments into a complete and suitable, historically accurate record. That is exactly what happened here. So this brand's history was not completely gone yet. It was dispersed. And when knowledge is dispersed widely enough, people stop seeing the whole of this story. So they see one watch, one catalog, one dealer listing, an anecdote, and repeated incorrect assumptions often is the case. So that is what I have spent years building and correcting, is identifying a series of poorly comprehended makers which actually form a watch dynasty of a single family. This family is a series of cousins. They have all the same common ancestor, and they're very closely related. And we start to see how unique this family history is, and the heritage that they were a part of. It's very fascinating. So this is a little bit of how I found this incredible story, unearthed it, and have documented a collection of 600 watch and clock objects over the last 8 years plus. And this had never been done before, and there is no other individual who possesses the key to this in understanding the interrelationship of these various watchmakers. And I think this is extremely important for understanding how the Swiss watch industry evolved and how influential these makers were in their own milieu. They were occupying basically a Silicon Valley of their day, and they became world famous for the fruits of their labors, which was this brand we see victorious in so many of the world expositions at the time throughout the 19th century. And this became a name that was spread by word of mouth. These were desired objects. They were generally in the luxury sector. However, there were more affordable versions of these watches by smaller makers and smaller ateliers. So I hope you enjoy this video of how I unlocked this milestone of 600 watch objects. Now, the last several were very interesting. These were merely movements, and the movements, one would think that what can one extract, what data can one extract from a movement or just a dial? Well, quite a bit actually. Like when we are looking at a serial number, we are looking at a historicity, a dating sequence, and we're able to place this serial number and dating sequence into a larger weaving tapestry of other objects. When we look at the big data, then we start to see how these objects are placed. And this gives us an entirely better understanding of the breadth of watch production, for example, on a lot of these makers. But thank you for your attention, and I look forward to your feedback. I wish you the best. Bye-bye.